Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about a term that I experienced, and I know that many of you have in your own relationships, especially before your, what I imagine are very difficult separations and co parenting issues. And that is betrayal trauma. So, before our guest even introduces herself, Debbie, what is betrayal trauma? Like, what does that mean? And then we'll get into it.
Yeah, I define betrayal as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule, and every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust, the more we depend on that person, the deeper the betrayal. So, for example, a child who's completely dependent on their parent, that's going to have a different impact than, let's say, your best friend sharing your secret, your coworker taking credit for your idea. Still lots of cleanup, but different level of impact.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, before we dive in, tell us who you are and a little bit about your background and how you got drawn to this topic.
Yeah, you don't think I just love betrayal? So I'm Dr. Debi Silber, founder and CEO of the PBT Betrayal Transformation Institute. So I've been in business for 34 years, coaching thousands and thousands of people. And years ago, I had a betrayal. It was from my family. And I thought I did everything I needed to do to heal from that. And I was in health and wellness and personal development. And then it happened a few years later, and this time it was my husband. So that was the deal breaker. Got him out of the house, looked at the two experiences, thinking, okay, well, what's similar to these two? Of course, me, but what else? And I realized I never took my needs seriously. It was always about everybody else. And I'm one of those people that believes if nothing changes, nothing changes. So here I was, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving practice. And this was so big that I needed to study it so big. There wasn't a book or a course or something that was really helping me. And so I decided to study this at the PhD level. So here I was enrolling in a PhD program. Like I could barely breathe and I'm enrolling in a PhD program. And I did a study on betrayal. And that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my family, my work, my life.
Okay. So I'm going to put aside all of the ideas for questions I wanted to ask and focus on this study. Tell us about the study.
The first one, when I did this study, first of all, I remember saying to myself, I have no idea how I'm going to heal from this, but if I do, I'm taking everybody with me.
Mhm.
Because betrayal is such a shock to the body, the mind, the heart, and anybody who's been through it knows that. And I had a feeling betrayal was a different type of trauma. I'd been through death of a loved one. I'd been through disease. And I was like, you know what? Betrayal feels different, but I didn't want to assume it was the same for all my study participants. So I asked them, if you've been through other traumas, does betrayal feel different for you? Unanimously, they said betrayal is so different. Here's why. Because it feels so intentional. We take it
Mm,
so personally. So the
wow.
entire self gets shattered. Think about it: rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. They're all destroyed. Like when we lose someone we love, we grieve, we're sad, we mourn the loss. Life will never be the same. But we don't go back and question the relationship.
Hmm.
Our memories don't get changed. We don't question our ability to trust. We don't question our sanity. With betrayal, we do. So that betrayal is a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. That was the first discovery.
Wow. I'm a
Mhm.
note taker and I'm trying to jot down stuff because this is just mic drop
Mhm.
with that alone.
Yeah.
With questioning ourselves and the relationship, that there's loss and there's grief, but how do you grieve when you are blaming yourself?
That's it. There's the shattering of the self is what's so unique to betrayal. And
Mm,
think about it, when there's another trauma, let's say, a natural disaster, a fire, whatever, people rally. Even death of a loved one rally. With betrayal, it gets weird, right? Because now very often the betrayed is struggling and suffering in silence. Very
mm,
often they're covering for the betrayer because they're well loved and everybody, in the community, whatever. So they're not reaching out, or, the betrayer is not encouraging them to reach out. And that's a whole other thing. So, or the people are minimizing it because it's in their best interest to do that because they want to see you both together or whatever. So the support isn't the same as well. It's so different. It's such a different experience.
Yeah, I'm relating it, yeah, to my own experience where I was with my ex for nearly 20 years, and when
Mhm.
I found out what, was a series of betrayals,
Yeah.
I kept thinking, "Well, I'll do anything to keep this family together, so let's go to, like, a whole bunch of different rounds of counseling," but I didn't wanna tell anyone because I thought if
Yeah.
I told someone and they heard what had happened, they would hate him forever, and so I would never have the opportunity to fix it. So I only told for 2 years, only told 3 friends who couldn't give me good advice because they didn't really understand and either did I exactly
Mhm.
what was going on. But it's so true what you said where there's this shame
Yeah.
where I knew that the behavior was really bad and it was wrong, but I felt like I would look bad if I
Mhm.
opened up for tolerating this for so long or for even considering trying to keep it together. So I didn't really know what to do or what to think, but I didn't want to tell anybody.
Exactly, as if it has anything to do with you, which it doesn't. And
Yeah, of
that's the
course
thing.
it feels like it does. Of course,
Yeah.
because I was also made to feel like, there are reasons. And I was going to ask you when you said with the betrayer's behavior, are
Mhm.
there common things in betrayers, let's say with infidelity, because that's
Yeah.
probably the issue that our audience is dealing with the most or has
Mhm.
experienced, where somebody has an affair or a series of affairs.
Mhm.
How do they behave when they're caught? Or how does someone behave when when they're outed?
Yeah, I've worked with hundreds of betrayers. They're not all the same. Here's the
Mm,
thing. Betrayal will show you who someone truly is. It also has the opportunity to wake them up to who they temporarily became. When that
mm,
happens, there's a lot to work with. You can actually create something very, very new that's so much better than what you had before when that's the case, if you want to.
mhm,
That's not always the case. With a lot of other betrayers, they're blaming you, they're shaming you because they don't want to take the responsibility, and you have very little to work with when
mm.
that's the case. You know, I
That's
I
I think the case with our audience.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then you know what? And I do want to share the other the other discoveries, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain something now, and your audience will. And I want you to brace yourself for this because it's like it's like tough love right here. But you will see so clearly who you're working with. Ready? I there's something called I call it the window of willingness. And
Mhm,
here's where you have from the most ability to rebuild with someone, again, if you choose to absolutely there's nothing there to work with. Ready? So now imagine a window open as wide as it can be. That's the greatest potential you have if you choose. And here's what it's going to look like from the betrayer. I am so sorry. I can't believe what I did. What in the world can I do to make this up to you? It's going to take a lot more than that, but they're taking full and complete responsibility. They are owning it 100%. You have a lot to work with when it's like this, right?
mhm,
Again, you don't have to, but there's a lot to work with if you choose.
mhm,
You're going to feel the window closing a little bit with this next one, and it sounds like this. Well, I did it because, you know, now, because is an excuse. You
mm,
still have something to work with, but it doesn't feel nearly as good as when they owned it fully and completely, right? Okay. Feel the window closing in this next one. And my heart is, I'm with you, everybody, with this next one. You're going to feel the window closing in even more when you hear the word you. Well, I did it because you, da, 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 da. I said because you, da, da, da. Okay, this is crazy making. It has nothing to do with you. Betrayal is a choice. It's not a mistake. Let's be clear. So this is a choice. And when they blame you, it's like a bad game of hot potato. Do not own this for a second. Now, you feel how closed that window is? You have very little to work with here because they're blaming you. And you believe you're like, wait a second, maybe I'm and you start thinking you're crazy. Maybe if I was more, whatever. It has nothing to do with you. Feel the window closing even more with level 4. It's going to sound very, very much like this. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You really need to get some help.
Yep.
right? So now there's zero accountability, zero responsibility. So level 3, level 4, very close cousins right there. So
Ugh.
when you have that level 1, level 2, there's something to work with if you want to. Level 3, level 4, what you do is you do your healing, you move along. At this point in time, with their current level of consciousness, this is all they can give you. So to close the loop on my story, with my family, they were at that level 3, level 4. There was really nothing to work with. So
Mhm.
healed myself and moved along. With my husband, as two very different people, and I'll share how we did this. Uh, he was totally at that number 1. I completely moved through healing, which I'll share how. We married each other again as two very, very different people not long
Wow.
ago. Yeah. So, it's you know what you're working with. There's the complete and crash and burn of the old, which allows for you to rebuild the new,
Mhm.
if you choose. But when there's no crash and burn of the old, there's no rebuilding of the new. And so many people are so afraid to have that complete and total crash and burn of the old. Well, then you don't rebuild the new. In fact, there were 3 groups in my study who did not heal.
Mhm.
You know what? I'd rather get to it's gonna make so much more sense when I get to the other discoveries. But if you
Okay.
want to remind me about that, I'll share that after.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, but let's get to the other discoveries.
Okay. Any questions about anything I said so far?
No, I don't want to interrupt and take over and talk about how much I relate to that and how
Mhm.
many people in our community, I'm sure, relate to it, especially in the level 3, 4, because they are out of those relationships. There was no accountability.
Mhm.
Now, you had said betrayal is a choice, not an excuse, right?
Betrayal is a choice. It's not a mistake.
Mistake, mistake. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew, I
It's
was
not
like,
a
I don't
mistake.
think
It's a
she's listening.
choice.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so validating, and of course wish I had known you years ago. I think it would have helped to have to understand some of these patterns and what to expect, because
Yeah.
like you said, when you're in it, you feel completely alone and
Yeah.
ashamed.
Yeah, and I was right there with you, and that's why there wasn't a book, a course, an anything. And I said, I have to find a way through this, and I'm going to share it with everybody, and we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, let
Yeah,
me get to
very keep going.
yeah. All right. So the second discovery, uh, this is where we found that there's actually a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. Now, I've tested at over 100,000 people who've taken our post-betrayal syndrome assessment to see to what extent they're struggling. And first of all, we've all heard time heals all wounds. Well, I have the proof that when it comes to betrayal, that's not true.
Hmm.
There's a question on the assessment that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And people write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I will never trust again.
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
betrayal happened 40 years ago. I can still feel the hate. My betrayal happened 10 years ago. Feels like it happened yesterday. So we know we cannot count on time. We can't even count on a new relationship to heal it. Healing needs to be deliberate and intentional. Here's an example. We had a woman in our program, and she was in her mid 80s. She had a 70 plus year digestive issue. 45% of everybody betrayed has a gut issue of some kind. Crohn's, IBS,
Wow.
diverticulitis, constipation, diarrhea. Oh, yeah. She had a 70 plus year digestive issue from a family betrayal. She was adopted. They didn't tell her. It was like one of those. 70 plus years, every protocol, every medication, every food thing, all of it. 2 weeks in our program, she healed from a 70 plus year digestive issue. That's what happens when you get to the root cause, which is the betrayal, and you stop hacking away at the leaves.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm happy to share some of the stats.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So now imagine men and women, just about every country's represented. As much as I'm going to share these symptoms, here are these numbers as well. Ready? 78%, this is out of over 100,000 people, constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. 80% are hypervigilant. Think about how exhausting that is.
Wait, what was that
Nine-
number? 80,
80% hypervigilant.
80%. Oh my gosh, that is so familiar.
Okay, wait till this next one. 94% deal with painful triggers. right? These are the most common physical symptoms, some of them. 71% have low energy, 68% have sleep issues, 63% have extreme fatigue. Your adrenals have tanked. Sleep all night, you wake up, you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
47% have weight changes. So in the beginning, you can't hold food down. Later on, you're emotionally eating. You're using food for comfort, right? I mentioned the digestive issues. Mental symptoms. 78% are overwhelmed. 70% are walking around in a state of disbelief. 62% can't concentrate. Let's just stop there. You can't concentrate. You're exhausted. Let's say you have a gut issue. With betrayal, also, you're supposed to keep your life going. Now you go to work. You're supposed to still raise your kids. You're still taking care of elderly parents, whatever you have going on. That's not even emotionally. Emotionally,
All right,
80.
pause, Debbie, with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So when you talk about the overwhelm and not being able to concentrate, so
Mm-hmm.
Chris and I with Been There, Got Out, we work only with people in high conflict divorce, custody battles, co-parenting situations. So the
Mm-hmm.
people in the middle of this process are being pushed to make very significant decisions and are often completely paralyzed
Yeah.
and don't understand why. And many of them have been betrayed by their spouse or their
Mm-hmm.
partner. And
Yeah.
so it makes so much sense. Obviously, sleep issues, weight issues, all of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
this is so familiar, and not being able to concentrate is a really big deal. Many
Right.
of them also have ADHD. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so much
Well,
anxiety, and so besides like the betrayal in life, having
yeah.
to go through paperwork and court and lawyers and money,
Yeah.
it's awful.
They're also in stage 3. And when I finish this, I'm going to get to the third discovery. You'll see exactly why it's as hard as it is right in that spot. So emotionally, 88% experience extreme sadness. 83% are very angry. They're bouncing back between those two all day long. Think about how exhausting that is. 79% are stressed. I'll just read a few more. This one killed me. This is why I wrote the book Trust Again.
Mm-hmm.
84% have an inability to trust. Think
Mm.
about what an inability to trust, if that's left unhealed, you can heal it. You can rebuild it. You can't repair it. You can rebuild it though. Think about how that's going to affect every relationship you have. Think about how that's going to affect your own self-trust,
Mm-hmm.
your own perception of reality, right? All of it.
Yeah.
67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. Here's what's so
Mm.
crazy. These numbers, they're staggering. You didn't hear me say 20%, 30%.
Yeah.
They're also not representative of a recent betrayal. This could be from the boyfriend or girlfriend who broke your heart in high school. This could be like from that parent who did something when you were a kid. So that person may not know, can't remember, they may not even be alive. And here we are decades later with these symptoms because it's left unhealed. The good news is you could heal from all of it. That was the third discovery.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, what percentage of people in our society do you think are dealing with this issue?
Yeah, uh, so many. And with the third discovery, I could tell you exactly where people are stuck.
Okay.
You ready?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. The third discovery, this was the most exciting for me personally. And what we found was while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and most people do, if we're going to fully heal, and by fully heal, I mean those symptoms I just shared, to this completely rebuilt place called post betrayal transformation, PBT, we will move through 5 proven predictable stages.
Okay.
And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every single stage. And we know what we need to do in order to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable. Happy to share the stages if you want to hear them.
I'm just jaw on the floor. Keep going.
Okay. So
So
stage,
exciting.
yeah, yeah. That's what's so hopeful about it.
Yeah.
Stage, everybody's going to know exactly where they are. Stage 1, this is actually before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, what I saw with everybody, me too, was a heavy lean on the physical and mental thinking and doing. We're so good at that. And kind of neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual feeling and being.
Mm-hmm.
If a table only has two legs, easy for that table to topple over. That's us. That's not saying if we're just walking around on autopilot, we will be betrayed, but it's a typical profile.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. Everybody remembers their D-Day or D-Days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. Right here, you've ignited the stress response. You're now headed for every single one of those symptoms I just shared. Your mind is in a state of chaos and overwhelm. You cannot believe what you just learned. It makes no
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
And your worldview has just been shattered. That's your
Mm-hmm.
mental model. It's the rules that govern you that prevent chaos. It's okay to trust this person. Go here, whatever. And in one earth-shattering moment or series of moments, every rule you've been following is no longer true. The bottom has bottomed out and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. This is terrifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone in order to stay safe and stay alive. And that's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is where all your clients are coming from, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So survival instincts emerge. Now, here's the thing. Because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good. And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we don't know there's a stage 4 or stage 5. Transformation doesn't even begin
Mm-hmm.
until stage 4. But because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we plant roots here. We're not supposed to. But
Mm-hmm.
4 things happen. The first thing is we start getting all those small self benefits. We get to be right. We get sympathy from everyone we share our story with, right? We don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. Can I
Mm.
trust you? Should I trust you? Ah, forget it. I'm not trusting anybody, you know? And
Yeah.
so we plant deeper roots. And now because we're here longer than we should be, we start thinking things like, maybe it's me. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's my fault. Maybe I'm not that great. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. And now, again, because we're here and now these are the thoughts we're thinking, this is the energy we start putting out. And like energy attracts like energy. So now we start attracting people and circumstances, even new relationships to confirm this is where we belong. Here's where we join that lame support group, right? And we found our people. So we're going to sabotage our success because we have finally have people that understand. Here's where we start going to therapy. Well-meaning, well-intentioned therapists, but if they're not highly skilled in betrayal, you're going to feel heard and validated and understood. You're not an inch closer to stage 4. In fact, you're solidifying your spot and
Mm-hmm.
gluing yourself to stage 3. Here's where, because you're unsure of yourself, you're going to sabotage. This is going to sound crazy, but I see it all the time. You're going to sabotage your healing because you're afraid to outgrow your betrayer, who has no intention of changing. You see? It gets worse, but I'll get you out of here. Because it feels so bad, but we don't know there's anywhere else to go. Right here, we start numbing, avoiding, distracting. So we start
Mm.
using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, scrolling, whatever, to just numb, avoid, distract. So think about it. We do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years later and say, that emotional eating you're doing, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? They'd look at me like I had 2 heads. They'd say it happened 20 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Absolutely. And I see so many parallels with
Yeah.
the people that we work with as well, with the people
Yeah.
that have moved past that, with the people who are definitely in stage 3. We definitely work with someone stage 2 as well. The
Yeah.
shock where they're just like, I'm still like
Right.
reeling. I can't accept it even for a
Yeah.
long period of time.
Exactly. And the challenge with stage 3 is you are fine. And here's the thing, and I certify a lot of coaches and practitioners, and therapists are actually the hardest for me to certify because they're so loving and they just want to hold that space, but it's keeping them stuck. But
We work with more of our clients are mental health professionals, therapists than any other group of people.
yeah, oh, okay, okay, and there, and this it's a big challenge. I see it all the time with everyone that I certify, and they're so loving and so wonderful. But the I'm fine thing, this is a problem with coaches too, because when the client the person who's been betrayed seems like they're fine, the coach thinks the coaching relationship is over because, well, who am I to question them? They're fine. But the truth is, fine, there's a flatness to it. There's a
Yeah.
safety to it, but it's a safety behind walls. It's a protection. You see, transformation is a whole different thing. Want me to walk you through stages 4 and 5?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, if we're willing, willingness is a big word right here, to let go of the story, we grieve, we mourn the loss. Life will never be the same. Like all of that. We move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where we acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Just in that decision, we're turning down the stress response. We're not healing just yet, but we stopped the massive damage that was going on in stages 2 and stage 3.
Mhm.
Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved. If you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there. It's not quite cozy yet, but you're like, yeah, I got this, right?
Like,
This,
I could see how it'll look, my new
yes,
space. I'm excited for it. I'm
this
still,
whole,
like, kinda stressed
yeah.
because it hasn't happened and I haven't settled in, but I know that it's gonna be amazing.
Exactly. But also think about it. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You
Mhm.
don't take the things that don't represent the version of you you are now ready to become. And what I found was there's this one spot as people leave stage 3 and go to stage 4. If your friends weren't there for you, they're not coming along. That lame support group, you're done. That therapist who's keeping you stuck, you're done. That betrayer who's not changing, you're done. And people ask me all the time, Dr. Debbie, is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. If they don't rise, they don't come along. So it's a
Mhm.
very personal space. Here's where the caterpillar is in the cocoon. Doesn't bring a
Mhm.
party with it, right?
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah.
eh, but here's where a tremendous amount of work is being done. Anyway, when you're in that space for a while, you've settled into it, you've made it kind of cozy, you've made it home, you move into the 5th most beautiful stage, and this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal, self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. um, you're taking better care of yourself right now. Boundaries, your mind is changing, new rules, new boundaries. And the 4 legs of that table, in the beginning it was all about the physical and the mental. By this point we're solidly grounded because we're
Mhm.
focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Oh my gosh, amazing. I'm listening to you, relating so much myself and knowing that this information could help so many people in our community. So
Yeah.
many because it's validating and it's hopeful and it's within our control. It
Yes.
doesn't depend on someone else and what are they gonna do and how am I gonna function. It's
Mhm.
like this is stuff you can do yourself, and I'm thinking that I luckily was able to move through these stages. I don't know how, but, things
Yeah.
are way better on the other side, and I also never thought I would trust again. Not true. Um, Chris, who you met a few minutes ago, that's we've been together almost 11 years.
Yeah.
I truly never thought after what happened that I would
Yeah.
ever trust.
And here's a misconception about trust too. And this is why it's so interesting, because we have so many coaches and practitioners and therapists who do our certification because they're doing it for their own sake. And
Mhm,
then they have no imposter syndrome. They can authentically help others through the 5 stages. But with trust, there's a big misconception, because what happens is we focus on, can I trust that person again? That's the last of it. That's the final piece.
mhm,
Because until and unless you rebuild the other aspects of trust that were shattered, think about it. You've lost self trust because we
mhm.
think to ourselves, how did I not see? How did I not know?
Right,
I
I'm
don't trust
awful.
in,
Yeah,
right. And then I don't trust in my own ability to make decisions. We
right.
don't trust in our own perception of reality. So if that stuff isn't rebuilt, then we're really it's a big far reach without that stuff. That's why we're hyper vigilant. That's why we don't feel safe. That's why we're always anxious, because we don't have that rock solid base after that we've rebuilt. So it's really about moving through the stages, but also rebuilding all of those aspects of trust that
Yeah,
were
I
just
mean,
shattered.
absolutely fascinating. So Debbie, I mean, we could talk all day, but we don't have time. How can people find you, and tell us a little more about your programs and your books? And I mean, you've got a bunch of them behind you, but
Yeah.
I mean, this information is gold.
Thank you. So actually, my most exciting book is coming out so soon, and it's called Unstuck, and it's all for practitioners. It's I'm sharing with them how much better their practices can be when they understand betrayal. Because here's the thing, clients are coming to them anyway, whether they're coming to them for betrayal or not. Like, let's say they're a business coach
Mhm.
and they're coming for confidence. But if there's a betrayal in the background, that business coach doesn't know how to really work with their client. They can be an amazing coach, but they're using the right tools at the wrong time. All
Mm.
has to do with what stage someone is in. Anyway, so everything is at the PBT, as in post betrayal transformation, the PBTinstitute.com. And it's just all about our certification there.
Okay. Do you work with individual clients, or just you just train other coaches?
I was for a really long time. Now it's just at the highest level. They work with me and some of my PBT coaches. But I realized that while we had lots of clients coming in to see us and moving through our program and all of that, the best way and the most effective way I could get the 5 stages out there is with every practitioner that we certify,
Wow.
because
So
then it's getting out exponentially. So
so
that's all.
how would somebody be able to find someone who has been certified by you?
Yeah. So we're working on our directory. It's not up just yet, but it's really through now. They can definitely come to the site, check out everything we have, work with me and my coaches if that feels like a fit. That's for someone who's like, no, you know what? I'm moving through stage 5 in 6 months. Done. That's who that's for. But our focus now is really on certification, and that's really for any type of healer, practitioner, therapist, psychologist, doctor, counselor. Yeah.
When is it coming out? I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, the book is pre-launch, I believe, is February, mid-February,
Oh,
and launch is March 22nd because that's my birthday.
oh, happy birthday. Our book is coming out March 18th, right before your
Oh
birthday.
wow.
So,
We have to
uh,
celebrate.
yes, that is so exciting. Oh my gosh, I am thrilled that we were able to do this interview. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to share this information. I am
Oh,
absolutely psyched.
thank you so much.
No, thanks for doing, people usually say this to me, but I'm going to say it to you. Thanks for doing such important work.
You too. Thank you.
All right, Debbie, take care, and let's absolutely stay in touch, and much luck and success with the book.
You too.